Joining us today is David Campbell, a seasoned professional services executive with a proven track record of transforming operations, scaling businesses, and fostering high-performing teams. With over 17 years of leadership experience, including his role as Chief Operating Officer at Optimal Networks, David has successfully optimized business processes, driven sustainable revenue growth, and built an award-winning workplace culture. His passion for organizational transformation and strategic execution makes him a powerhouse in the world of professional services. David, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you. Man, that sounds awesome. That guy's amazing.
I was going to say, I think I'd hire him. That's fantastic.
No, what are you waiting for?
No, well, it's all about you, my friend. It's all about you. So, let's just jump right in. What moment in your career has taught you the most?
I think the moment that really stands out for me was really the very beginning of my COO journey. I was asked to take over an organization that was really in trouble. We were having 80% turnover. We were losing clients, and morale was as low as I'd ever seen it. And of course, I was just finishing grad school, so I was just now learning about this stuff while I was working, and I was asked to take over. And I think the moment that taught me the most was understanding that if we were going to get out of it, the first thing I had to do was I had to make sure that we were all going to be working to get out of it. Like everybody who had committed to staying because they believed in the bones of the organization. And so my first order of business was really just talking to everyone as a group and telling them, I'm doing this because I believe in the people here to make the organization what we all thought it was. And really getting folks to buy into the idea that I wasn't going to fix it. Like, alone wasn't going to fix it. That we had to be in this together and commit together to doing the work. And I think that was, the response was amazing, because I didn't know if it was actually going to resonate or not. It sounded good to me. I felt like it was a good message, but I'm talking to a bunch of blank faces, a lot of whom were supporting me behind the scenes when they found out, but we were having some real challenges. Mm-hmm. And it taught me how important it is to, one, communicate your vulnerability and tell people that it's okay for you as the leader not to know. And then two, making a commitment that if we as a collective can do a hell of a lot more than any one person, right? Mm-hmm. And then having people buy into that. So that was a really important moment for me to learn that, yeah, it's possible, but it's only possible if you can convince enough people that that's possible. Right. And then absolutely, of course, then you have to do the work and show the results. But it taught me something very important that I carried with me throughout my tenure, and I continue to use to this day, is that I want to be a bridge builder, a connector. And I am only as good as I am able to communicate the value of the future of what we're doing to the people who are actually going to be doing it. Right. So those things are really important to me. And then, of course, having a lot of fun along the way. So that's the thing. I think overall, that's what I learned early, and it's really paid off in my relationships over time.
That's outstanding. When your colleagues or team members describe you, what 3 words do they consistently use?
Energetic, optimistic, and competitive, because I am all of those things in equal measure. I think my energy comes from my optimism, my belief that like anything's possible. There isn't a problem. Problem is just a solution waiting to happen. And so I try to bring that. I'm joyful about what I'm doing and who I'm doing it with. And I want to convey the feeling of a blessing that I have, because it's like I've been able to lead, and people, more importantly, I've had a tenure of people wanting to follow me, which is incredible, because it's because they get to choose, and to have them choose me over and over again has been, I think, something that is overwhelming for me. And then, of course, I love competition. Like I can't In the workplace, I love contests. I love taking teams, whether they're like natural teams like customer service or engineering or finance, or client teams, and creating opportunities for us to have some healthy competition. So as a person who grew up on team sports, I believe that competition, especially when you are having to do it as a team, it really helps create a cohesion, and it really gives us an opportunity to share, right? To share in wins, to share in losses where we have to understand how we lost and how we can improve. And then people like to compete. And so, and I like to win. So whenever I compete, I expect to win. So,
Mm-hmm.
but those are the three things I think just about everyone who knows me is going to.
It's great. Outside of your professional achievements, what passion project or personal interest has taught you the skills that make you better at what you do?
I'm going to tell you something interesting, and people are going to probably think it's weird. Growing plants.
Mm-hmm.
I have fallen in love with growing plants. And I started this when I was at an awards dinner, and they have like one of those little terrariums in the middle of the table.
Mm-hmm.
And no one, of course, they did a raffle and I won it. So of course I won. So I'm excited about winning this terrarium. So I took it back to my office and sat it on my desk, and then it promptly started dying. I started trying to just keeping it alive, and then it started to grow, and then it started to get bigger. So I started taking the plants out and putting them in smaller pots, and then watching them grow. And from there, my like love of plants was born. And I have, wherever I am, I always start this. It's a garden inside plants. And the one thing that I really enjoy about it, that I think aligns itself with who I am, is plants have, like, for one thing, they're alive, right? Just like employees are people, right? They're not just a collection of like employee numbers and roles.
Mm-hmm.
And each of them requires something a little bit different to thrive. All plants need light, some need more than others. All plants need water, some need more than others. And then for me, deciphering what plants need what to become like the best, healthiest plant it can become, for me, is part of an offshoot of like what I've been able to do in my professional career. And then troubleshooting when things aren't going right, and getting that mixture of who needs what when, and
Mm-hmm.
then giving them that, and then watching them grow. And so I never, in all of my dreams, I never envisioned someone who loves plants. Like it never crossed my mind that like I would be the guy. But I really get a great amount of joy just talking to them, because I do talk to plants. They're living things. They respond. So, right. So I talk to them, and I kind of sit with them and enjoy the result of all of this. So I think it's interesting, but plants are become a really important part of my being. So yeah.
That's fascinating. I just wonder, do they talk back? But that's a whole separate conversation.
One who may be interested.
Yes, exactly. No, but I do think you really you did a great job tying it into the theme of the question, and it is true. You really need to pay attention and look for the signals of who needs water, who needs light, who needs these things. That's really very, very true as a leader.
It is a
Um,
proactive plan. It is, and much like leadership, I think leadership is a contact sport. If I can make the analogy, it requires a hands-on approach. It requires you to actually be in there and talking to people and learning about them, not just about what they do on the job. But I think the more you learn about people in general, the better position you are to support what they're doing in the workplace. And
mhm.
like plants is, in their weird way, are exactly the same way. Like if you don't, left to their own devices, your plants are going to die, right? Especially if you're in
Mhm.
their homes. They do require you to actually become an active participant in their existence. No.
This is true. Well, and it's a good thing. Hey, actually thinking about that, turning this around 180 degrees, can you tell me about a mentor for you?
Yeah, I've had some incredible people who have poured into my development. And I think I'm going to use, I think my mom has been my best mentor. And I say that my mom was and is still alive. My mom is very focused on people. She is one of the best people I know. And her philosophy on people is pretty simple. She believes you should treat everyone well. She believes you should really be good to people. And she believes that your commitments to people is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you a great story. So when I was a kid, we used to mow grass for money. And I went to mow a yard, and it was the last yard of the day. It's been a long day. I did a little bit, but did enough to say I'd touched it. And the guy paid me. But when I got home and I got off my bike, my mom was waiting for me. And she said, I just got a call, put your lawnmower in the trunk. And
Mm-hmm.
didn't say anything more. And she was the type of person that you didn't question what she said. So I get in the car. She takes me back over to the guy's house, and she comes back and she says, "Get out and I'll remow it, and I'm going to wait right here. I want every blade of grass cut." And so I mowed it, and I'm thinking to myself, "What am I doing? I was just here." And after I mowed the grass, she took the money that I made and she gave it back to the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I got in the car, she took me to the gas station. She put some gas in her car and she charged me for that gas. And and I'm hot because
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of some money a good bit. And she told me, when you tell somebody that you are going to do something, you're going to do it. And she said, because that's my name behind you going around the neighborhood mowing the grass, and you're not going to ruin my name because you want to do something. If you're
Mm-hmm.
going to do it, then don't even worry about it. And you paid me for my gas because it wasn't my fault you didn't do your job. That was your fault. So you're going
Mm-hmm.
to pay me for that. And if you do this, I will sell this lawnmower. You will not be mowing grass again.
Mm-hmm.
And 40 something years later, that message, I still tell that story. Her and I just laughed about it about a month ago. But she has been the one that has taught me the value of work, the value of your word, the value of treating people with respect,
Mm-hmm.
and the value of service. Because those people, when I took over the job as COO, the first thing she said was, you better treat those people right or they're not going to follow. And so the foundation of me as a professional was built on a person who didn't even know what the role was, who never even
Mm-hmm.
heard of it before, but knew that if there were people involved, I had a responsibility to be the kind of person that they would want out of an interaction. So she's probably been my strongest mentor because of her service philosophy and her like no nonsense approach to showing up for work. My big achievement for her was having a job for so long and showing up for work, because she always
Mm-hmm.
reminded me, if you don't keep going to work, you're going to go one day, you won't have a job.
Mm.
So but I
She's
said,
a
I've had
wise
lot
woman.
of great mentors, but
Mm-hmm.
all of them started with the lessons that she taught.
She's a wise woman. Wise woman. What book or podcast has influenced you?
I think two books that stand out, one of them is How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Mm-hmm.
which is a classic, but the older that book gets, the better it reads, right? And the other was what got you here won't get you there.
Mm-hmm. Books.
two fantastic books. And actually both of them are books that my daughter's in her first year in college, and they're two books that I recommended that she read. But the first one, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I was recommended like back when I was starting out in IT, and I read it and thought, man, really isn't me. Like I'm at the time I was just answering phones. Like, and how does this help me? But over time, it's really become like a linchpin of how I interact with folks, and the things that I want to be able to convey and communicate to folks when I'm dealing with them. And a mentor actually gave me the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And I read it at a time when I was in this transition, and I had become a COO, and it really focused me on, okay, you've done enough to get to this point. Now what? Right now you have to continue to evolve, and you have to continue to learn, and not resting on what got you to this destination, but more importantly, always being open to learning and to moving and to growing. So two books. So there's so much good stuff out there. The 7 Habits is a fantastic read. And I know I'm talking about all the classics, but I think
There's a
those
reason they are.
yeah, they just hold up. They've all held up so well over time. And when anyone asks me, hey man, or hey, do you have any recommendations on a book I can read that'll help? I always reference these because they are so well regarded. And I think anyone who's read them knows, like, yeah, this is, there's not very much argument from anyone that these books stand up in any era.
Absolutely. If you could spend a day learning from anyone, living or historical, who would that be and why?
I have so many answers because I don't want to sit with so many people, but I would probably have to be Martin Luther King Jr. It would have to be, because he was an exquisite storyteller. He was as charismatic a speaker as you could have asked for, and his ability to paint a picture of something that at the time seemed as far away as the moon, and painting it in a way that says it can be, is really important. But also the tactician, the strategy and the execution of a strategy that was almost unheard of in the cast of a Gandhi or like a John Wesley, like something, strategy of something of those caliber people, and to employ that strategy so consistently, and to get a multitude of folks to do it strictly out of their own belief systems, not because you're paying them, was remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just want to sit and talk to them about not so much the ideas of it, but the mechanics. Like, I want to understand how you were able to mobilize one of the most powerful movements in modern history without the use of a single bullet or a single weapon that
Mm-hmm.
came, as powerful as a movement as our nation has ever seen. So I would like to understand more about that side of it, and understand like how that person can come out of, and then a person came out of the church, right? And it just came out of the church to become this figure. So I think that's somebody that I would really love to sit with for a minute and understand.
Mm-hmm. I think we could all learn an awful lot. Absolutely. Wrapping it all up, what do you see as the future of your industry?
I'm going to use a throwaway answer because I think I don't want to say it's been overused, but it's one that people are using a ton. I think AI is going to be incredibly important, and not because, for a number of reasons, but I think the most important is automation, because our space, especially like in IT and managed services, a big part of the industry is automation, right? Because we're updating and we're monitoring machinery and we're making sure that things are working the way they should by the baseline. I think AI brings something interesting to the table because it gives us an opportunity to automate predictive measures, right? To be able to feed it a bunch of information and then have it help us predict outcomes. And I think it matters in our industry because the industry is, from the outside, looks a lot like you guys take care of networks. Like it looks very pedestrian from the outside, but inside the industry, it is there's amazing diversity inside the industry when it comes to management, the predictive pieces, the consulting, cyber, and also the alignment of how we're managing and having conversations about our networks with the client strategy. And I think depending on where you employ AI, like at what level you're employing it, there is the potential for it to sort of reimagine that part of the conversation. So whether it's support, whether it's monitoring, whether it is cyber or telecom or the consulting arm and managing the arc of a client's business with its evolution of technology. And it's going to be interesting to watch where different organizations, like where they decide to deploy AI to their stack or in their business use cases. So I think it's really interesting to see how this all shakes out. I think you're going to see companies employing it differently depending on what their specialties are versus where they may have some future interest. But I think that's the variability in where it can be deployed. I think that's the most fascinating part of it.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see where it's implemented, how it's implemented, and what companies are able to be agile with it. So it's going to be fascinating. Thanks so much for the time today. I think anybody that gets a chance should get to know you. Outstanding stuff. I'm sure it won't be long. So look forward to it. Thanks so much, David, for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
MTMG, guidance that empowers.